a mysterious black magic appears, and the father kills his daughter and wife mercilessly. The story of the film begins in 1974 in Reagan State, where a White House is shown. A young girl notices a car approaching her house, and she steps outside with a camera. Suddenly, a strange man with a pale appearance, so pale that he seems devoid of blood, calls out to her. This man looks disgusting and creepy. He tells the girl, "It's almost your birthday," and then laughs in a horrible way. The story then jumps 20 years ahead to 1990, where we are introduced to Lee Harker, who is an FBI agent. Lee is on a mission with her partner to track down a criminal. Using her intuition, she senses that the criminal is hiding in a particular house and informs her partner. However, her partner doesn't take her seriously and casually checks the house. To his surprise, the criminal is indeed inside and ends up shooting and killing the partner. Lee manages to make the criminal surrender at gunpoint, and the scene cuts here. In the following scene, Lee undergoes psychological and numerical testing. She later meets with a senior agent named Carter, who admires Lee's remarkable intuition, likening it to a sixth sense or some sort of psychic ability. Agent Carter believes that Lee has a unique, almost psychic gift, which helps explain her high performance in the tests. Lee had accurately identified the criminal's location in her previous case without concrete evidence, prompting Carter to assign her a cold case that had been unresolved for years. The hope was that Lee's abilities might uncover something new that could break the case open. This cold case involves a series of family murders that had been occurring over the years. In each incident, the father would go berserk, killing his wife and daughter before turning the weapon on himself. These murders were extremely violent. In one instance, the father stabbed the wife over 60 times. At each crime scene, investigators would find a cryptic letter with coded messages that seemed satanic. The letters all describe the name Longlegs, suggesting that this mysterious Longlegs character was involved in the murders. Strangely, the handwriting on the letters didn't match any of the victims, making it clear that someone else had written them. The big question was, who was Longlegs? Lee begins her investigation by reviewing all the case documents and soon realizes that, in every murder, there was no sign of forced entry. This implies that the fathers themselves were driven mad and killed their families with weapons. However, the presence of the Longlegs letters suggests an external influence at play. Lee also notices other eerie patterns. Each family had a 9-year-old daughter whose birthday fell on the 14th of a month. Lee shares her findings with Agent Carter and even meets his family, including his young daughter Ruby, whose birthday happens to be on that day. That night, Lee senses someone outside her house, but upon checking, she finds no one. However, the audience can see a shadowy figure entering Lee's home. When she returns, she discovers a novel with a birthday card inside it. Using the card's writings and a book called 9 Circles of Hell, Lee deciphers the cryptic messages in Longlegs' letters. The next day, the FBI receives another letter, this time linked to a recent murder where an entire family, who had planned a trip, were found dead in the master bedroom. They too had received a Longlegs letter. Lee plots the dates of each murder on a calendar and discovers they form an inverted triangle, a symbol commonly associated with Satanism. To complete this triangle, one more murder would need to occur on the 13th of the upcoming month. Lee shares this revelation with Carter, noting that Longlegs' letters repeatedly reference enjoying the Cameron family massacre. The Cameron family was among Longlegs' early victims from 1974, but that case was unique because Dr. Carrie Ann, one of the family members, had survived and was currently institutionalized. Lee and Carter visit the Cameron family farm, where they discover a life-size doll that resembles a young Carrie Ann. They have the doll analyzed and learn it is handmade with intricate detail, containing a hollow metal sphere inside its head. When Lee feels the doll's strange vibrations, she experiences disturbing visions of Longlegs. The expert examining the doll mentions hearing his ex-wife's voice when near it, leading Lee to conclude that every victim's family likely received a similar doll resembling their own daughter. Carter finds this theory hard to believe, but does not outright dismiss it. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a creepy man, the same figure from the beginning of the film, who is revealed to be Longlegs. He is shown behaving oddly while shopping, preparing for what seems like a visit to someone. Lee and Carter go to meet Carrie Ann in the mental asylum, where they learn she has been in a mad state for 20 years, unable to speak or recognize her surroundings. However, just a day earlier, she suddenly became fine for the first time in decades. Coincidentally, someone had visited her and signed the register under Lee Harker's name. It becomes clear that Longlegs must have visited Carrie, somehow causing her temporary recovery, and written Lee's name in the register to mislead the authorities. During the meeting, Carrie speaks in cryptic terms, hinting that Lee is connected to Longlegs and all the murders. Carrie insists that Lee needs to remember her forgotten past, and mentions seeing Lee's face as if she recognizes her. Carrie also reveals that her own family's deaths followed the familiar pattern: her father killed her mother and then himself. Carter begins to suspect that Lee might have a deeper connection to Longlegs, and his suspicions grow when he finds an old police report from January 13, 1974, where Lee's mother, Ruth, reported a strange, pale man lurking near their house. This occurred when Lee was 9 years old, the same age as the girls in the Longlegs cases. Moreover, Lee's birthday is January 14, strengthening the connection. Carter asks Lee to visit her mother and dig into her childhood memories to see if anything relevant surfaces. At her mother's house, Lee finds a strained relationship with Ruth, who inquires whether Lee still says her prayers, a question that Lee brushes off. Lee then discovers a box of Polaroid photos, confirming that she was the girl visited by Longlegs in the opening scene of the movie. She also finds a clear photograph of Longlegs taken with her childhood camera. Lee confronts her mother about the events of January 13, 1974, but Ruth denies remembering anything, though her expression suggests she's hiding something. Through flashbacks, we learn that after seeing Longlegs, Ruth did call the police, but she also interacted directly with Longlegs, asking why he was near her daughter. Longlegs only laughed in his unsettling manner. This interaction leaves the audience wondering how Ruth and Lee managed to escape Longlegs' wrath when so many others did not. Lee takes the photograph of Longlegs to Carter, who uses it to help apprehend him. Longlegs is caught in a motel room, displaying erratic behavior and clearly showing signs of being a Satan worshipper. A police officer remarks that devil worship is not a crime in America, highlighting the oddity of the situation. Nevertheless, Longlegs' handwriting matches the letters from the crime scenes, confirming his involvement. However, Lee believes Longlegs could not have acted alone, as there were no signs of forced entry in any of the crime scenes, suggesting someone on the inside helped him. To prove her theory, Lee interrogates Longlegs. Longlegs, recognizing Lee, claims that he serves the man downstairs, hinting at working for the devil. When Lee presses him on who his partner is, Longlegs suggests she should ask her mother. He then chants "Hail Satan" and commits suicide by bashing his head on the table. Simultaneously, Carrie Ann also takes her own life in the asylum. Disturbed by Longlegs' mention of her mother, Lee returns to Ruth's house with Agent Browning. Inside, she sees her mother dressed in a nun's outfit, who then kills Agent Browning with a shotgun. Realizing that Ruth is Longlegs' accomplice, Lee confronts her. Ruth chillingly states that Longlegs is now free, and so is Lee. Ruth then destroys Lee's childhood doll, causing a strange black smoke to rise, and Lee collapses as if under a spell. Through Ruth's narration, the film takes us back to January 13, 1974. On that day, Longlegs, whose real name is Dale Cobble, approached young Lee, and Ruth called the police in response. Longlegs later returned, binding Ruth and offering her a choice: either let him in or he would repeatedly come back and eventually kill Lee. From that point on, Ruth became Longlegs' unwilling accomplice. Lee's father was absent, and this lack of a father figure made their family an anomaly among the other victims. Longlegs crafted life-size dolls with a satanic metal sphere inside, which emitted a disturbing energy capable of driving any father insane enough to commit murder. Ruth, disguised as a nun, would deliver these dolls to the victims' homes, presenting them as gifts from the church. The families, believing the gifts were from a trusted source, would open them, triggering the madness that led to the murders. The doll's influence was so powerful that it clouded Lee's memories, preventing her from recalling her traumatic encounters with Longlegs. Upon regaining consciousness, Lee realizes that Longlegs had been living in her mother's basement all along, crafting his sinister dolls there. Although Longlegs claimed to serve the man downstairs, Ruth was also literally serving someone in her basement. After discovering that her own mother, Ruth, was complicit in the murders and connected to the satanic rituals, Lee Harker rushes to Carter's house, knowing that Carter's daughter, Ruby, is the next intended victim. When Lee arrives, she finds Carter under the influence of the sinister life-size doll that Ruth had delivered. The doll contains a satanic metal sphere emitting vibrations that drive people into madness, particularly targeting the fathers to kill their families. Carter, now completely overtaken by the doll's influence, becomes violently deranged. In a terrifying struggle, he murders his wife in front of Lee. Lee tries desperately to stop Carter from harming Ruby, but he is beyond reasoning. With no other choice, Lee is forced to shoot Carter to protect Ruby, effectively saving the little girl from her father's murderous rampage. As the situation escalates, Ruth appears, driven by her twisted dedication to completing the ritual that Longlegs had started. Ruth attempts to kill Ruby herself, believing that the satanic plan must be fulfilled. A confrontation ensues between Lee and her mother, Ruth. In a heart-wrenching moment, Lee shoots Ruth to stop her from killing Ruby. Believing that the doll is the key to ending the murders and breaking the cycle of evil, Lee tries to destroy it. She aims her gun at the doll, but her gun jams mysteriously. This moment of malfunction suggests a supernatural force still at play, perhaps the lingering influence of Longlegs or the devil he served. The film ends with Lee staring at the doll, appearing almost entranced or perhaps sensing that the battle against this malevolent force is not truly over. If you like this movie, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel.